Alright guys, time to review the next installment in one of my favorite action franchises. When people think of modern action movies in Hollywood, a lot of them is just dumb action. There's a lot of repetitiveness and, well, maybe John Wick isn't the most original compared to repetitive aspects, but the action and the enjoyment you get from these movies, that is consistent. There is consistent acting. There is consistent quality. And even though the storyline may be generally the same, there is something new added to the plot for each movie. And in From the World of John Wick, Ballerina, which is apparently the official title for it, you go to the theater, it says From the World of John Wick, Ballerina. You Google the name of the movie, From the World of John Wick, Ballerina. So I'm wondering when the 4K comes out, they're going to put that on the box, From the World of John Wick, before it. We'll see. I'm just going to call it Ballerina because that's much more simpler title. So before we dive into this movie, like for the Karate Kid franchise, I wanted to show you guys the movies I have for John Wick so far. This is probably the franchise that I've purchased and repurchased the most copies of this movie. I had, I think, the Blu-ray copy for probably the first John Wick at some point in the past. And then I bought the first three movies, the 4K, individually. And then there was a trilogy 4K pack bundle. It was like on sale on Black Friday or something. And I had that pack. And then there was a separate, I think, Blu-ray 3-pack set that came with a physical item from it that I, for the life of me, can't find for some dumb reason. And then, now I don't have any of those anymore. Now I have the first three movies in a steelbook set, and that is what I want to show you guys. But since that set is cooler than what I have for the fourth one, even though it is so pretty neat, I'll show you guys. So I was gifted the steelbook for John Wick Chapter 4. So here it is. And being Lionsgate, I'm actually going to do some real quick, get rid of the screen back here. So we have the screen mess with the reflection. There we go. Okay, so we have John Wick Chapter 4. I notice it's the glossy things. It's the slips that have the annoying reflection thing. So anyway, so being Lionsgate, of course you take it off and get a really neat picture. You get to see how sort of beat he is. And this is a really cool cover. It's really neat. The back is pretty neat as well. I almost like the back. I don't know if I like the back more than the front. This is just really, really cool though. So I know it's sort of blurry on camera, which just really sucks. But I think it's really cool. So this is the Blu-ray copy. So it's not 4K. So of course, I had to also go back and purchase the movie on 4K. This is just a standard copy. There's really nothing special about it. It's just the 4K, the standard 4K copy for the movie. So here is the set I have for the first three movies. Definitely not wiping dust off here, right? Guys, give me a second. So, here it is. This is one of the most expensive sets I bought, and I don't regret it. This is super awesome. So, you open this up. It's like the book for the movie, but it's not actually a book. You open it up. It does have some pages. I think this is like some pages from the book, but not a lot. You open it up, and you have the steelbooks. So, here is the first one, which I'll get out for you guys. John Wick Chapter 1 is the front and back. These are all stylized this way, and this is one of the coolest sets I've ever had. So here is the second one, John Wick Chapter 2. I'm going to be really annoyed if they make the set again, if it's the exact same thing, but they add a steelbook for the fourth one, because I'm going to have to buy the set. And if they do the same thing with Ballerina, then I'm going to have to buy the set again. So here's the third. It says the picture generally look the same. The side tells you which movie it is in case you need that confirmation. So not only does it come with that, it comes with the photo, or two different ones. So yeah, so it comes with the photo of John Wick and his dog, which any fan of the movie knows this is the reason that he's killed like 1 million people, is because of that puppy right there. And I mean, look at the little puppy. Wouldn't you go kill 1 million people if the dog died? So that is from the movie, but then the photo John Wick keeps of his wife that he kept in this book in the movie. comes with a set. So that's just pretty cool because this is sort of something from the movie. So with the 2 photos, it does come with physical items from the films. Not only is the set cool, the fact that they could have just made a neat box set that come with 3 steelbooks, but they made it a prop from the movie, which makes it even more badass. So yeah, this has got to be one of my favorite sets in my movie collection. That is one I will never part with. So now that we've got all that out of the way, Ballerina, I think, it just adds the consistency to the franchise. So it was written really well. I love the fighting. Eve Macaro, the new character, she has like a really neat, in-depth story that connects with the others as well. I think connects in a really interesting way. So basically, the Roscoe Roma that we see in John Wick, chapter 3, and then a little bit 4 as well. She is just one of those people there. So to sort of explain the timeline a little bit, because I had to do a little bit of research, in John Wick Chapter 3, there is a scene toward the beginning of Ballerina that takes place in the middle of John Wick Chapter 3. When he goes there, she sees him and interacts with him for a second. Now, I found out that John Wick Chapter 4, I don't know if they said this in the movie or you had to look it up, but it takes place 6 months after the third. So, in Ballerina, she meets John Wick, and then she's training, and then it says, there's a part of the movie in Ballerina, I think like toward the first half, where it says 2 months later. So this would have been after, or I would assume during the time when John Wick is not only recovering from his fall in John Wick Chapter 3, but he's also going after the high table at this point. So it's really interesting to see his role in this movie, which we'll explain later. I think it really just makes it feel all connected. And so for Eve Macaro, we have this opening scene with her and her father. He knows how to fight. She's clearly seen him killed, the way she's just unfazed by him shooting all these people that invade their house in the opening. And this guy sort of gives him a choice. The Chancellor is his name, of his own people, which we find out later as well. In the opening, he gives her father a choice and says, kill yourself and I'll spare her, or try taking me out and we'll just kill you both anyway. So she sort of interrupts that, and so they keep fighting, and he ends up getting shot and he bleeds out, but Eve escapes. So when he's at the police station, to her rescue comes Winston, one of our favorite characters from the franchise, and he takes her basically to the Roscoe Roma, and she's accepted, and there she goes. Now she has her new life ahead of her, trained to do what John Wick does, just with less experience, basically. And so now we have the time jump from her being a kid to an adult, and she meets John Wick. She wants to do what he does, and she's training, which we get like a really good training sequence. It's not really just a montage where things are skipped over. It takes some time to explain how she trained and what she trained on and how to fight. So the story does give her some depth as to how she knows how to fight. This isn't just a random character that just pops up on screen as just as good as John Wick. There was actually some explanation for all of it, which I think is really cool. A lot of movies don't really take the time to give us those details, so the fact that this movie did was something that I really appreciated. And so as she basically graduates from the Roscoe Roma, she's given this assignment, and this is just basically serves as an action sequence to her now knowing how to fight properly. And so it's done in like this sort of, if you're a fan of DC, you think of the Iceberg Lounge. That's what just pops in your head. This bar, this club is all ice. There's ice sculptures, the walls are all ice, the ground is all ice. It's just this ice place. And so the ice picks and stuff are used as weapons during this fight, and it's really, really neat. So basically, Eve is to protect this girl, and so people that come and try to take her, Eve takes them down, takes them out. She's given rubber bullets, but some of these guys don't give her a choice, so she's fighting these guys. It's a cool action sequence, and it sort of prepares her for, okay, now she knows what to do. And I believe this is then 2 months later, it picks up with her in the middle of a job after she's done. We're given the impression she's had continued work constantly during this time. And so she's jumped after this job, and this guy that she ends up killing has a mark on his wrist that's has the same mark from the people that killed her father. So now she's asked about the Roscaroma. She wants to go track them down. They say, the lady in charge basically says, no, drop it. You have to drop it entirely. And so now there's this mystery group out there. And she goes to Winston, give him the coin that he gave her when she was a kid, and said, I want information. So he says, fine, I'll give you a little bit. And after he gives her a little bit of information, he gives her this name, Pine. There's this guy in Prague at the Continental there. So now she has a target. So when she goes to the Continental to see Winston, we get Lance Reddick's Sharon. I'm assuming his last appearance. I don't know if they used... I didn't do enough research to know if they used AI to put him in this movie or if he had filmed scenes itself. Regardless, seeing him again, it's bittersweet because it's great seeing him. It's sad to know we're not just going to get him in every single project, but it was great to see him again, especially since obviously this is before John Wick Chapter 4, where we know what ends up happening to him. So it was cool just seeing him and Winston again, just bringing some familiarity. So not only has John Wick appeared in this spin-off, but now so has Duke, or Winston, and so has Sharon, and so is the Continental. And now she's going to another Continental. So it may be a new lead actress for the John Wick franchise movie, but it certainly still feels like a John Wick movie. The action is still really, really good. It spices everything up. There's some very consistent, great kills, and it's just entertaining, just like the rest of them. So when she goes to Prague, she meets this guy, Pine, and he's trying to protect his daughter from the same group, even though he's part of that same group. So Eve's sort of like, okay, fine, I'm not going to hurt her. I still want to question this guy, but the rules are in the Continental, you can't kill anyone. So a lot of people attack, try and take him out. She ends up being left behind for security, while the kid is taken by this group after her father, we assume he dies there. We see him sort of knocked down the street as Eve is looking at him. She's like going unconscious, so we can't really tell if he's bleeding out or if he was killed or if he was just knocked out. It's kind of blurry intentionally, so you can't really tell. So as the movie goes on, the security basically just tells her leave because she didn't kill anyone. So she didn't break the rules, but she's kicked out of there. And so basically for the rest of the middle of the movie is her tracking these people down. And she finally finds this group up in the mountains where she believes this is where the guy she's looking for is going to be. Now she goes into like this coffee shop. One of the snipers that was aiming at Pine now shows up there. And so she's fighting him, and then the staff of the coffee shop start attacking. The mother with the little kid there starts attacking. And as fans, even though the character doesn't realize it yet, as fans, we're now realizing this group is the citizens of this entire city. This whole city is full of killers. The waitress is a killer. The mother with the stroller is a killer. And there's shots of the preschool. There's a little swing, there's a little slide. And there's target practice boards up on the side of the school. So this is very much a killer's community. But it's a peaceful, little, beautiful city. I mean, the visuals showing the city, it looks like the place you'd want to live until you find out it's full of killers. But, beside the point. The action has now propelled for the rest of the movie, pretty much at this point, where she's fighting the whole city. And the Chancellor is basically saying, whole city, he's announcing to everyone, please go kill her. And he reaches out to the leader of the Roscaroma and says, how are we going to settle this? Because you sent one of your own. She says, no, we didn't send her. They have this contention and they can't really come up with a solution. So she says, let me send someone to kill her, and if that will satisfy, then great. He said, okay. If he kills her by midnight, fine. And so here comes John Wick. He finally gets a good fight. And what's really, really cool is there have been franchises where you have this badass character, and then you have a woman lead, and she's suddenly so much better. In this fight with her and John Wick is the better fighter. But he's also trying to let her leave. He wants her to walk away. So the movie picked a very interesting way to show respect to the character of John Wick, where yes, he still is the main character for this franchise, but Eve has gotten so many good kills and so much progressive story throughout this movie. She's not counted out. She's just another character in the franchise. She's not meant to replace John Wick. And so the way they sort of handled that was, it was sort of a tricky thing. A lot of people were talking about, is she going to become the new face of the franchise for John Wick? Is she going to get her show or another movie? Will she get her own trilogy? Will she be in the next John Wick 5? I think any of those options are on the table, because I think she was a really well-liked character, well-written character, and I would be excited to see her in another project. So yeah, the way they handled all the characters, I thought was just perfectly done. So as she's fighting John Wick, he doesn't want to kill her. He wants her to just walk away, but she can't. She wants to kill the guy that killed her father. So he finally says, okay, I have till midnight to kill you. So you have till midnight to kill him. And that's now their deal. And so off she goes again. And one of the people going after her is sort of a rushed story. It turns out it was her sister. So when she's finally meeting up with the Chancellor and they kidnapped her for all of 2 seconds, she finally gets this information that her father was part of the same group, and he took her away. But he also didn't take her sister because she had already grown up a little bit. She was older, and it was too late for her. So she now has a sister, but her sister died because of the grenades thrown into the building when they were having this conversation. So she gets her sister back, but then her sister dies. Father's dead. So basically, they're just painting this picture where her family has died to these people, sort of cementing her hatred and need for revenge against these guys. And so off she goes to just plow through pretty much every single one of them. And the comedy was done in this movie so subtly, and there's not a lot of comedy at all, but what comedy there is so subtle. Some of the Chancellor's security goes to him and say, hey, Eve's coming after us again. Seems like she's winning, you need to leave. He's like, no, it's been hundreds of years, no one's ever run away from this place, I'm never leaving. They tell him, we've also lost John Wick. 2 seconds later, here's the scene of him getting in the car evacuating. So it's funny because of how much respect the characters in the franchise have for John Wick. It's one of those franchises where you know they're never going to just straight up replace him. They're never going to disrespect him. If you're a fan of John Wick and they make another movie, you can expect to like the next movie just as much as the last ones. So ultimately, yes, our characters do get our happy ending. Eve does end up killing the Chancellor and reuniting with his granddaughter, reuniting her with her father, Pine, played by Norman Reedus, who we find out is alive. And at the end of the movie, a hit is put out for Eve. It's like millions of dollars. She's now on the run. She's no longer part of the Roscaroma, just like John Wick. So I am interested to see where these characters go from here. John Wick is funny because in the fourth one, we presume he dies. He bleeds out, he goes unconscious, but he sort of just falls over unconscious. We didn't see him bleed out. We know Winston had a grave marker for him, but he could have just done that to sort of fake to the world that he's dead. Because Lionsgate's already just announced John Wick 5, Keanu Reeves returning. There is no death in John Wick 4. I think John Wick 4 had like that ending where I think a lot of fans accepted this as an ending. So it's not a surprise that the franchise wants to make more and more movies. Obviously, they've put out the TV show. They put out Ballerina. They're doing another John Wick 5. Clearly, they had no intentions of letting the franchise be done after the fourth one. But so far, every project, I haven't seen the TV show, but of these 5 movies, everything has been consistent. So if they can keep the same quality for John Wick 5, I'm perfectly fine with him surviving. There have been plenty of franchises where characters have survived from much harsher fates. It's just him passing out. If he survives from being passed out, I'm not going to have problems. My problem is not him surviving. The problem would be if they waste another opportunity at a John Wick 5. If it just feels like there's no love or passion behind the project at all. If it's just another moneymaker to Lionsgate, then that will be the sad part of its existence. But the fact that John Wick is surviving John Wick 4, that concept is easy for me to believe. It's not some unrealistic storyline. like I said, there's been plenty of franchises where they brought people back from the dead from much more gruesome or certain fates than this. So we'll see where the franchise goes from here. Ballerina definitely feels like that's not going to be the only project with that character. I think I'd like to see her in John Wick 5, or if she gets her own sequel. So either way, this has still remained one of my favorite action franchises. There's just something about a badass character needing revenge. It's classic, it's standard, some may call repetitive, but it's one of those if it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of thing. And I think that's what John Wick is. All the movies can be compared to kind of being the same thing, but the movies aren't broke. They haven't tried to fix it, and that is why every movie has been enjoyable. That's why every movie's had consistent with the acting and the storyline. That's why so many people keep coming back to John Wick, and that is why the franchise makes enough money to keep making another part of the franchise. So there's clearly a big group of John Wick fans. I'm one of them for sure. I'll be there for John Wick 5. Thank you guys for watching my review. I know this review is kind of longer, kind of like John Wick Chapter 4, but keep it digging, guys. Thank you so much. I'll see you next time.